We present Chunky Edit, text-first video interview editing via chunking. The early stages of video editing require building deep familiarity with the content through watching and rewatching the input videos. Simply keeping all of these moving parts in your mind is a nearly impossible task. One strategy for extending human memory is through the technique of chunking, which involves organizing information into logical groups. For example, if our task is to remember the color sequence of these blocks, remembering these 4 sequences of 3 blocks is far easier than remembering all 12 together. We find that editors apply a form of chunking to break down the editing task into more manageable units. This involves organizing footage into intermediate representations that group content by theme. These include a paper edit, which contains a selection of transcript segments compiled into a text document, and a string out, which displays selected video segments back-to-back on a timeline. In general, existing tools do not represent footage at the granularity of chunks, so editors have to manually scrub, playback, trim, and label captured footage to create these chunked representations. In this work, we focus specifically on video interviews, a particular type of video that is quite common across news, documentaries, and even some scripted films. When conducting an interview, there's typically an interviewer asking the questions and an interviewee answering them. These two people take turns speaking, with the interviewee usually doing most of the talking. Now, this kind of conversation is very structured. However, then maybe days, weeks, or months later, this recording makes it to the editing room, where an editor, who often was not present for the recording, will review the footage and put together the edited interview. They may receive some notes from the producer or clients about what themes to emphasize, but otherwise they have to make decisions about what to include and how to order the content, which can be pretty time-consuming. We built a system called Chunky Edit for helping editors group video interview clips into thematically coherent chunks, which can then be exported to existing video editing tools and composed into a final narrative. To create video chunks, we explore 4 different topic modeling approaches, which use a few different strategies for grouping interview questions and answers. I'll first show an overview of our system, and then after that, go into detail of how these approaches work. So here's the Chunky Edit UI. We'll organize a short college alumni profile video that we plan to edit. On the left, we see the video player, and below we see the transcript. Chunky Edit has automatically found the questions and answers. Questions are highlighted in gray, and the answers are in white. Now, just this structure is already helpful. It saves editors the manual step of splitting each clip by question. On the right, we get a bird's eye view of the automatically created chunks. We also see these colored labels next to the answer text in the transcript. These are the thematic groups Chunky Edit has found across the entire video. We can add a particular line to another chunk as well. Here, we're adding this line to the relationships and social life chunk. We also see it on the right. Or we can create a new chunk manually for all of the lines relating to activities. We'll also add the answer below to that chunk. And we see this new chunk on the right as well. We've currently decided to group our clips according to topics in the interview answers. If we look on the right using this dropdown, we can instead group by similar questions instead. And we see the titles and compositions of the chunks change. But for now, let's go back to grouping by answers. Our manual changes from before are saved. We can search for content related to a theme we want to emphasize in the video, and that's the speaker's academic growth. We see 3 answers related to that theme, so we create a chunk with that label. We see this new chunk at the bottom of our chunk list. Since we want to focus our final edited narrative more on the speaker's time at the college, we remove the chunk on studying abroad. After we're happy with our chunks, we export this as a paper edit and a string out. Our paper edit shows the name of each chunk, the lines, and the start and end times for each clip. We can open our string out in Premiere and see each of the chunks on the timeline with 2 seconds of space between each chunk, as is common for editors to do when they make a string out manually. We can then continue to make edits, such as removing the space between lines or reordering the chunks as we assemble our rough cut. So now that we've seen what the Chunky Edit UI looks like, let's go into a bit more detail about how we create the chunks. We first transcribe each video using the Speechmatics API. For example, for our video here, we have our interviewee on camera and our interviewer off camera. We hear both voices, but only see the interviewee. Our transcript shows all of the spoken words. In our transcript, you'll notice that we have these labels of Speaker A and Speaker B, which I've now colored in blue and orange. But we need to figure out who is Speaker A and who is Speaker B. We assign the speaker with more words to be the interviewee because usually they are the star of the show. In this case, that's Speaker B. We then group the transcript into questions, which are lines spoken by the interviewer, regardless of grammatical structure, and answers, which are lines spoken by the interviewee. We then can do some more grouping from there, such as identifying follow-up questions using GPT, or identifying themes in the answers using a range of methods. To create video chunks, we use a technique called topic modeling. To perform topic modeling, we start with our transcript questions and answers. We then embed our text using a language model, find clusters based on similarity of the lines in this high-dimensional space, and then label the clusters. So let's look at a couple of ways we can do these tasks of finding the clusters and labeling them. So these are our 4 different topic modeling approaches. And based on our video from earlier, we can see the number of chunks and some examples of labels created using these different methods. These first 3 methods use GPT-4 for one or both of the clustering and labeling tasks. We also notice that there are some differences in the number of chunks across the different methods. And there's some differences in the label text as well. So given that we could see some differences in the number of chunks and some subtle differences in the labels, we wanted to go a bit deeper here to understand how chunking strategies vary. We focus specifically on how coherent the dialogue is within a chunk and how well the assigned label describes a chunk. To evaluate chunk coherence using distance-based metrics, we embed all of the text using SentenceBERT and compare the intracluster and intercluster distances. We evaluate label quality by comparing the distance between the label and each of its cluster members. Our distance-based methods indicated no significant differences among the 4 methods in terms of chunk coherence and label relevance. However, in our follow-up with human evaluators, we found that while 3 of the methods performed similarly, the keyword method produced significantly worse results. Since all of these different methods perform similarly, or provide the option of not using GPT in the case of the keyword method, we decided to display all 4 methods in a UI for the user. We then wanted to focus our main evaluation on how editors would use this type of chunking support in the context of editing a video interview. For our user evaluation, we recruited 8 professional video editors with 7 to 20 years of experience at a range of different types of video production organizations. All of our participants had used at least one common video editing software tool, and 3 had actually already used the text panel, which offers video transcription within Adobe Premiere Pro. The task was to use Chunky Edit to prepare a video string out for a 2 to 5 minute profile video, which they could then edit using an existing editing tool. 5 editors worked with videos we provided on a range of topics and used Chunky Edit to familiarize themselves with the content, while the other 3 provided their own videos, which they had previously viewed. Overall, participants responded positively to Chunky Edit. They rated it highly in terms of helping with video organization, focusing on relevant parts of the video, speeding the editing process, and sharing intermediate edits. We wanted to highlight a few more specific areas where they said it could be especially useful. Several participants highlighted specific benefits of being able to use Chunky Edit to assist with rough cut creation. P1 said, "If we can already generate that raw string out, then I'm already saving myself a few hours potentially at that point." P2 said, "Chunky Edit is definitely a good starting place. At least it's kind of done the work of an assistant editor basically. I would probably trust this just as much as I would an assistant editor." Another area participants highlighted was facilitating communication with clients and other members of the production team through sharing earlier versions of stringouts and paper edits. P4 said, "The paper edit seems like actually it would streamline the process for me a little bit, or at least put it in a way that I could send clients." P1 shared, "If I was providing all of this footage to a producer, and they don't really have familiarity with an editing program, at least they would be able to play things out themselves." As further automation is introduced into video editing workflows, there are many ways to introduce this automation. Chunky Edit reflects one point on a wide spectrum of editing tools, from traditional timeline-based interfaces to fully automated workflows. There are a lot of exciting opportunities within this spectrum for pushing beyond the timeline and considering other more content-based editing interventions. Editor Sheila Curran-Bernard reminds us, "Time is an increasingly rare commodity for filmmakers, especially during pre-production and editing. Yet time is what enables a film to have depth in terms of research, themes, and layers of storytelling. It can enhance creativity." Our question as tool designers is then, how can we design systems that allow editors to spend their time more effectively in the future? It is our hope that tools like Chunky Edit and other future video editing tools will help editors focus on the critical editing decisions that make it an art form.